the remote island nation of Indonesia. One of nature's most diverse and spectacular habitats. From the planet's oldest rainforests to towering volcanoes and oceans home to more species than anywhere else on Earth. Isolated for thousands of years, life on these islands has developed in astonishing ways. For many, it's a fight for survival. And in this lost world, some animals have evolved into giants. Indonesia. Straddling the equator, it's a country of over 17,000 islands. From the tiniest tropical paradise to one of the largest volcanic islands on Earth. The combined area of almost 2 million square kilometers between Australia and Asia makes this the world's biggest island nation. Indonesia's densest forests remain untouched by man. But these unique island habitats have, surprisingly, become home to some of the world's most extraordinary giants. The biggest of their kind, anywhere on Earth. Usually you'd expect small islands to produce small animals. But mysteriously, here in Indonesia, giants are thriving. But living in these restricted territories, huge animals have been forced together in a fight for survival. Cut off in these lost worlds, they've been forced to adapt. But it's how giant animals made it to islands like these that is one of nature's mysteries. Some of the volcanic islands on Indonesia's western boundary remain uninhabited. But animals have found their way here. With fewer predators and an abundance of food, one species has become so big, it's almost unrecognizable. And these monsters have even learned to climb trees in search of their quarry. This coconut crab is the largest land-living arthropod on Earth. On its diet of coconuts and other crabs, it measures almost 1 meter across and weighs nearly 4 kilograms. Mostly nocturnal, they usually spend their time in burrows, dug out with their powerful claws. But having spent 4 weeks underground, growing its new shell, this hungry crab has emerged during the daytime in search of its favorite meal. But it's at night that this island's huge population of giant coconut crabs all come out to play. Here on Indonesia's remote volcanic islands, the giant coconut crabs are thriving. But they've been forced to adapt. Surprisingly for crabs, they live deep in the forests, up to 6 kilometers from the ocean. Unlike most other species of crab, coconut crabs can't breathe underwater. But, marooned for thousands of years on Indonesia's islands, they've developed fully functioning lungs. Allowing them to scour the entire island in search of the best coconuts. These huge claws are capable of catching and killing birds and small mammals. But mostly they use their immense power to tear open the tough coconut husks. And thanks to the abundance of coconuts, these huge crabs have also grown so big, they can't swim. But these crabs inhabit remote islands, hundreds of miles from the nearest land. The answer to how they got here may lie over 7,000 kilometers due west. A rocky island off the coast of East Africa. This female coconut crab carries a precious cargo. Under her tail are 10,000 eggs, ready to hatch. But the tiny larvae do not have the air-breathing lungs they will develop as adults. So they must hatch in water, which means risking her own life amongst the waves. Once hatched, each tiny larva can survive a few weeks in the water. As powerful ocean currents carry them hundreds or maybe thousands of kilometers in search of land. Most will be eaten or drowned, but the lucky few that wash up will then live the rest of their lives on their new island homes. Thanks to these epic ocean journeys, the monstrous coconut crabs have island hopped all the way to Indonesia's most remote outposts. Indonesia's mysterious islands are home to a surprising number of giant mammals. Perhaps most surprising are a species of elephant found only on the island of Sumatra. This mature female commands a small herd, slowly making their way to their nearby watering hole. And luckily for the thirsty elephants, although the climate on Sumatra is extremely hot, it's also extremely wet. And when it rains, it pours. Each elephant will drink over 100 liters of water every day. How these giants got to Indonesia's islands baffled science for years. The answer is surprising, but simple. They walked. Geological evidence shows Sumatra used to be connected to the main Asian continent. In fact, most of Indonesia was a single landmass. So, millions of years ago, the ancestors of these elephants gradually migrated here from Africa via Asia. But around 7,000 years ago, a dramatic rise in sea levels turned Indonesia into a nation of islands. Imprisoning these huge animals on their new island home. But despite being the biggest animal on Sumatra, this giant elephant needs to tread carefully. Lurking in the elephant's territory is the biggest venomous snake on Earth. A single bite from this king cobra is enough to kill a fully grown Asian elephant. It has two short, fixed fangs in the front of its mouth, which channel venom into its victims like a hypodermic needle. Most of the elephant's hide is too thick for this king cobra's fangs to pierce properly. But the elephant's sensitive trunk is much more vulnerable to a defensive bite if the snake senses danger. But to avoid being stepped on, the king cobra also uses its unique hiss with a much lower frequency than other snakes. And it's enough to teach this elephant to keep his trunk to himself. It may be capable of killing an elephant, but the king cobra's Greek name translates as snake eater, and for good reason. By tasting the air, she's detected another snake. It's over 20 meters away, from the other side of a stream. Using stealth, she now has it in her sights. It paralyzes its victim, then swallows it whole. Once digested, this single kill means the king cobra won't need to eat again for several months. High above the forest floor, in the dense canopy, Indonesia's jungle is home to a truly unique giant, found nowhere else on Earth. Orangutans are the largest tree-dwelling animals in the world. This huge male will live for up to 45 years and spend almost his entire life in the rainforest canopy. But before he can enjoy his favorite fruits, he'll need somewhere to sit. He weighs almost 100 kilos, but has learned to construct complex nests like this each day that can support even his huge weight in the treetops. It's only to collect their prized durian fruit that an orangutan, even this large, would risk descending to the forest floor. Usually, orangutans eat, sleep, and even give birth many meters above the ground. Like most females, this new mother is around 3 times smaller than the male. And this will be her only baby, until she has successfully raised him to adulthood. She knows his best chance of survival is keeping him high above the ground, away from the jungle's predators. With his incredible coiling fingers, he locks onto his mother's fur as she moves through the canopy to feed. Food may be plentiful, but up here, water is scarce. Wary of big cats, she won't risk descending to the stream. So she must take any chance she can to drink. Despite the hair pulling, it's the mother's job to teach her offspring how to survive in the jungle. Today's lesson is how to get water out of a tree trunk. It looks easy enough. But for now, he's leaving it to the expert. They'll live together like this, until, like his siblings before him, he reaches maturity at 8 years of age. It's vital if he's to learn how to survive. While she continues to drink, her baby decides to head off on his own. As this young orang clambers down away from its mother, he's getting dangerously close to the forest floor. And below him, the island's apex predator is on the move. This Sumatran tiger usually hunts ground-dwelling mammals, but the chance to take this careless orangutan is too good to miss. But she'll need to get closer without being seen. Usually, the young orang relies on his mother's watchful gaze. But today, she has other things on her mind. One slip now, will mean certain death. As the baby moves into striking distance, high above him, his mother finally finishes her drink and begins the hunt for her baby. The youngster is now distracted, and the tiger is closing in. Finally spotting the danger, she swings into action and uses her distinct call to alert the baby. Like 90% of their hunts, this opportunity slips away. And the orangs can return to the safety of the treetops. "150 kilometers from the nearest land, on the remote Indonesian island of Bawean, the moon brings out Indonesia's biggest and deadliest predator. Growing up to 10 meters, this reticulated python is the longest snake on Earth. Its huge body is as wide as a human's, and it's capable of catching and swallowing a crocodile whole. But this snake hasn't eaten for almost a year, and now needs a big kill to sustain it for the next 12 months. But first, he must catch it. Moving almost silently, he stalks these hog deer grazing at the edge of the jungle. At this time of night, the deer must remain vigilant. They know from experience that the forest is alive with predators. But using his amazing camouflage, this huge snake is now almost within striking distance. Timing is now everything. Once it's locked in its jaws, the deer doesn't stand a chance. The snake's coils tighten, stopping the blood flow to the deer's organs, suffocating the 30-kilogram prey in minutes. But it will take hours to swallow. And for such a large kill, the snake must force its windpipe out of its mouth to avoid suffocation. Once the snake has finally finished swallowing its prey, its body performs a unique evolutionary trick, going into digestive overdrive. Its heart and liver grow by 40%. dissolving the entire animal in just a week. Surprisingly, these enormous creatures are also excellent swimmers, capable of covering many kilometers at sea, perhaps explaining how they've become one of the biggest predators on many of Indonesia's islands. Indonesia's oceans have another role to play in spreading giants. Over 81% of the country's area is made up of this warm, tropical seawater that acts like a central heating system for its islands. But the heat stored in these oceans sometimes bites back. Fueled by the tropical sun, the extreme heat and high humidity can turn into cyclones. Wind speeds of 250 kilometers an hour can flatten forests and destroy entire islands. But these deadly and destructive storms also help to spread life. Powerful winds suck up plants and insects high up into the air, often raining them down onto distant islands. And after crash landing into new tropical habitats, these insects may find new opportunities with fewer predators and go on to grow out of all proportion, making Indonesia home to some of the biggest insects on Earth, and nowhere more so than the island of Borneo, including this newly discovered species of stick insect, over 1/2 meter long. And one of the biggest beetles on Earth. Giant rhinoceros beetles, some around 10 centimeters long, are, pound for pound, amongst the strongest creatures on Earth. And they can be found on many of Indonesia's islands. Only the males have these lethal-looking horns, and they're fiercely territorial. This beetle will battle any other males that dare to venture into his domain. The prize? Maintaining breeding rights over a harem of carefully selected females. But a rhinoceros beetle's dominance is hard fought, and he must constantly defend his territory. Another male clambers onto the log, laying down a challenge. Each almost as big as a human hand, the two giants weigh up their opponent. The challenger approaches, and the battle begins. Their horns are not for stabbing. Instead, the beetles use them to topple their opponent. Each is capable of lifting hundreds of times their own body weight. The giants lock onto the bark with hooks on each foot, fighting for position on top of the log. Eventually, the challenger is put in his place. And the king of this part of the forest moves off to find one of his females. In the jungle, sometimes, size can truly matter. Here in Borneo, nature has taken that to the extreme. Borneo has some of the oldest rainforests on Earth, home to one of Asia's biggest primates. These proboscis monkeys have evolved the biggest noses of all primates. And around here, the bigger your nose, the more power you command. Found nowhere else on Earth, and isolated from other monkeys in Asia for over 7,000 years, they've developed these huge noses, which amplify their calls. But it's not only this male's nose that is supersized. His stomach, twice as large as other leaf-eating monkeys, has cow-like digestive chambers and makes up a quarter of his entire body weight. Despite the size of their stomachs, proboscis monkeys are remarkably choosy about what they put in them. This monkey knows that the new shoots are the easiest to digest. But this juvenile still has a lot to learn. If it's to eat enough leaves to become one of Asia's biggest primates. Their feeding is interrupted by yet another downpour. Time to find an escape slide. And if one tree is taken, there's plenty more. These agile monkeys find ingenious ways to leap between trees. The rain soon passes, and it's back to the monkey's main business. For the alpha male, that means trying to keep his grip on power. Having the biggest nose impresses the females, but it's their powerful honking they use to battle for dominance. This lone male announces his presence, and the alpha must react. It's a battle of little horn versus big horn. Their cavernous nose trumpets amplify the honks, which can be heard right across the jungle. But this time, it's just a shouting match, and the challenger backs down. The alpha's more powerful honk maintains his dominance, and the exclusive right to breed with all the females in this group. He reigns over 7 females, who have all produced his offspring. Or so he thinks. It's not only the outsiders he should be worrying about. When his back is turned, females are open to advances from other males in the group willing to risk an approach. This infidelity is essential to maintaining genetic variety. The alpha may be thinking only of his stomach, but she needs to be quick. she sneaks off to meet this young, confident male for a private rendezvous. What happens in the treetops will be their little secret. Perhaps what the alpha doesn't know doesn't hurt. She then returns, as if nothing has happened. And her steamy jungle affair goes unnoticed. Indonesia's 17,000 islands extend more than 5,000 kilometers between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. But Cendrawasih Bay in northern Papua is truly one of nature's most remarkable marine habitats. Due to its huge array of wildlife, it's known as the Galapagos of the East. This single coral reef harbors more species of fish than the entire Caribbean. Along with billions of tiny reef-dwelling animals, it's also home to the biggest fish on Earth, the whale shark. Growing up to 13 meters long, the largest recorded whale shark weighed over 20 tons. But living at great depths, it's thought they could grow even bigger. This elusive species usually spends much of its life in the deep oceans, diving to depths of 1,000 meters in search of food. But the whale sharks here hunt in much shallower waters. This slow-moving giant is capable of swallowing 1,000 of these fish in a single gulp. If only they would stay together. For that, she needs help. These yellowfin tuna corral the fish into what's known as a bait ball. And the whale shark, with its massive jaws, waits for the perfect moment to strike. Now at the center of the bait ball, the tuna keep driving the fish into her vacuum-like mouth. Feeding like this, whale sharks consume around 20 kilos of food every day. As well as thriving alongside the tuna, the whale sharks have formed a unique relationship with another species on the surface. These are the Bagan fishermen of Cendrawasih Bay. Named after their boats, they spend months at a time at sea. Thanks to these rich waters, their catches are huge. But their nets can easily be destroyed by the power of a hungry whale shark. For years, their catches were ransacked by the huge appetites of these giant sharks. But the Bagan believe that fishing is better with the sharks around. So rather than try to get rid of them, they now make them an offering. The waters of Cendrawasih Bay support an incredibly healthy population of whale sharks. Often up to 7 sharks around a single boat. And uniquely, these are the only whale sharks in the world that don't migrate. Living up to 100 years of age in this tropical paradise. But there's something strange in this kingdom of giants. It turns out that some of Indonesia's largest mammals, marooned here by rising sea levels around 7,000 years ago, have actually been reducing in size. A process known as insular dwarfism. For these mammals, isolation on these remote islands has resulted in huge changes to food availability and competition between animals. As a result, over time, some of the largest animals here are now smaller than their mainland cousins. But while the large mammals may have reduced in size, evolution on these islands has had a much more dramatic effect on some of the smaller animals. With fewer predators and an abundance of food, many have thrived, adapting in incredible ways. And they've turned, over time, into giants. Previously dry paths can turn into raging rivers in a matter of minutes. Despite being able to swim, it's unlikely elephants swam all the way to Sumatra. And just crossing this dangerous, fast-moving floodwater will be a challenge for this young female. Unsure of where to put her feet, her trunk serves as a useful depth gauge. Slowly, she picks her way safely across. It's just one of the many obstacles she'll face on her journey to adulthood. When fully grown, she'll weigh nearly 3 tons. Around 3 million years ago, Indonesia's volcanic islands didn't exist. But that was about to change. Just off the coast, tectonic forces were driving the heavier Indo-Australian oceanic plate beneath the lighter continental Eurasian plate. This violent seismic activity was about to trigger the birth of a new island chain. A 5,000-kilometer-long archipelago now clearly marks the plate boundary, part of the most active volcanic areas on Earth, known as the Ring of Fire. But the same volcanic forces that created Indonesia's newest islands also have the power to destroy. Indonesia is still one of the most volcanic places on Earth. With around 130 active volcanoes, eruptions and earthquakes can strike almost daily. The lava fields and ash-covered terrain appears hostile to life. But plants and animals have not only found ways to get to these remote islands, they've gone on to flourish and turn into island giants.